Well, again, thank you for the opportunity to be able to come up here. Now, I've got to have a dialogue. I can't have a monologue, right? Because you guys all sit there and just stare at me. It's going to go downhill real quick. We're all going to be like, and so, I like I said, so work with me. If you have questions, stop me. Be interactive with me, all right?
Sure.
That's the way I flow. A little bit about me, right? I consider myself as a serial entrepreneur. I've owned, sold, lost multiple businesses. I started my first business when I was 22 years old. I got into the pro audio gig for a while, and I started my own deal, and I developed that company within a period of 6 months from professional mobile DJing at that time, from 1 unit to 3 units to 6 units to a fleet of limousines to 15 employees to a bridal consulting business, and we did all that in a period of 6 to 8 months, and it grew rapid. But just like you always hear, business has a tendency, if it grows too quick, then it'll actually hurt you. And I know people don't believe that's true because everybody thinks that business can't grow too quick. It can. Because if you can't adjust to it, you do with it the same way that you would do with the other things that happen in your life, and it happens too quick. Right? So we grew this business. I was plugged into the church at the time. And this is part of my testimony because we got to using those limos. We got to using those limos, and we had this really sweet one. It was a Millennium Edition. It sat 10 passengers, leather interior, flat screens. It had it all. And we're like, well, we could rent it this weekend, or we could use it for ourselves. And so it started a trend. And eventually what happened is that trend, we couldn't keep up with the payments. And we started to crumble in the gas prices because life happens. The economy happens. So one of the biggest things that I learned in that time frame was that I can't be subject to the economy. I got to be above the economy. I got to have my business in a stable environment to be able to surpass and get through hard times. But I learned, and I'm suffering the consequences of it still today. Right? We had to close business, sell cars. Believe it or not, I sold all the cars on eBay. Yeah, sold them all on eBay. Who would have thought, right? I thought I seen one. Guy came and got it from West Virginia. I swear I seen it sitting underneath by a trailer. It was like parked right up against it. But I was like, well, whatever, praise God, right? He bought it. So we did that. And then we went from there, and I was still working a full-time job at the time. And in 2007, I stepped out from a job. Now, if you're not familiar with Lima, that's where I'm from. Lima, Ohio, average income is $17,000 a year. Okay? And so when you think about the average income and $17,000 a year, it's one of the lowest cost of living and places to be per population in the United States. Okay? So I left the job in 2007 from a healthcare company, which I started with in 2001. I went from a low guy on the totem pole to managing a $40 million organization and a $3 million data center. The objective was that I had a task to save 35% telecommunications costs within a year's time. And at that time, that's almost unheard of when you have 125 locations for over 4 states. So I defined and I found this product called VoIP. VoIP was at its infancy stages, Voice over Internet Protocol, and teamed up with an organization. And they said, we can service all of your locations. And I said, that's great. They said, the only problem is that we work through agents. We don't sell direct. So I believe that God put me in a position to become that agent. So what I did is I went to my boss, the CIO of the organization, and I said, I got a proposition. I can save the company 35% on its annual income, which is approximately $50,000 a month. But your dilemma is, I'm going to leave and go do it. I'm going to be the agent. So I did. I left, saved them 35, and generated about $20,000 a month out of the gate. Problem was I partnered with the wrong person. Partnered with a guy who had money. Said he was going to be 51% and be the financier behind what we were trying to do. 3 months later, him and I didn't see eye to eye. And he buried me. I didn't know it at the time, but he buried me. Took all my income. I left a job that paid me close to $100,000 a year at the age of 27. And I made my first year in business between my wife and I, we made $30,000 before taxes. But we pushed through. We pushed through it. We went on and we spent all the money that we had, and we said, you know, we can do this on our own. We don't need him. We don't need that. And God found me at that point, built me back up. I stood on the rock, and I said, let's do it. I was in Las Vegas, out at this training center, getting my certification to sell these phone services. Had 8 locations. So we want you to come in and do all of our stuff. And it was an instant $60,000 project, which took us from here to here, and then it stumbled into other things. Within a year's time, I merged my business with an $8 million organization and took on percentage of share, and now I'm a shareholder and an owner of a $10 million organization with 50 employees. So God can turn things around relatively quickly. You know, He can make you a millionaire by Sunday, the way I look at it, because He's not a respecter of persons.
Nice.
Right? So we started doing that, and we said, okay, this is great. Okay, now we're rooted, we're grounded. I've been in that organization 3 years. My VoIP product now is in 28 states. I've got over 50 agents selling my product on a regular basis. We generate over $50,000 a month just in phone services, because of a vision that He'd given me regardless of the circumstances. But in the midst of all of that, the company that I sold the services to came back and sued me. And they wanted their money yesterday. So I've been through lawsuits, and I dealt with it. We ran a vending company, right? My wife, she was like, look, I don't know something to do. I said, the company I just merged with don't have no vending machines. I think that's a great industry to get into. So I put vending machines in the organization that we had. I wanted 2. I got 40. Wow. So we actually ended up getting, I think it was like 16 at the time. Within a year and a half's time, God blessed that thing, put His hand on it. We grew it from 8 locations to 25 locations, 16 machines to 45 machines, turned around and sold it for a profit of $35,000 in a year and a half. It's just amazing what He can do. You know what I'm saying? When you stay faithful to what you're trying to do. In the midst of that, I got offered an opportunity to be an equal partnership in a new internet service provider company that came to town. The previous guy, he's running it, he sold his previous company and wanted to do it again. But he wanted to bring a new service to the area that nothing's been, that we've never seen. It was like a WiMAX service. And I said, okay, you know, so we started talking about it. Things kind of quieted off. I got a call, it says, we're in, we're installed, we're running. I said, well, where's my part? You know, I thought we were going to, and eventually he said, oh, we're just bringing you in, equal partner. Come on into the business. Didn't put any money out of pocket, they bring you in because of just the willingness and the wanting to learn and understand it and provide it. And when you can provide a value, and I'm going to talk about value in a little bit, when you can provide a value,